So I had a revelation last night while we were camping. I know, that's the thing when you go on a trip like this, you have lots of time to sit.
We're not at our dining room table.
Yes.
But we are.
Yes. So one thing I was really thinking about is our packing for this trip and kind of what that looked like and how that is very similar to when you look at what you have in your house and like what you need and don't need. And I know for me, like we're packing for 10 days and we have like time in a hotel and then time in a real campground. And then we're going to be spending time at more of like an in-town campground.
RV park.
Yeah. And so it's like 3 very different types of trips all in one trip.
Right.
And planning for that kind of makes your head explode a little bit.
It does.
But it really made me think about like, what was my thought process? What was I going through trying to decide what I really needed?
Right.
I don't know how you felt about that too.
Well, first of all, I felt like we have we're blessed with a lot of business going on. And so there was a lot of things trying to get wrapped up for our clients before we left on the trip, which meant we were doing kind of packing at the last minute before we rolled out.
Always and then dangerous.
And then did laptop work in the car. Well, I drove, you did laptop work. But then I felt like wrapping my head around multiple different types of trips all in one trip, left me kind of a little scrambled on what I was packing. So, and we have limited space. So it's a little bit like this, kind of right-sizing.
Right.
I mean, we have as much space as we have and it only can take so much.
Right. So now we are in the middle part of our vacation and I started looking around at what I have here. And one thing that kind of made me laugh is that before we left, I did check the weather for the area we're at, we're kind of Central Oregon. And I saw that the highs were going to be, upper 80s and the lows are in the low 50s. But I feel like I don't ever trust that. So I brought a light sweatshirt and I brought a heavy sweatshirt. And as we came in from the campsite last night, and I realized we only burned about 5 sticks of wood because it was actually pretty warm. I didn't need either of my sweatshirts, but I brought them as like a just in case I might need them, and realizing how much of what I do at home, I keep things because I might need them. And
that's really insightful. Yes, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's like at home in the garage, I joke because when you need something fixed and I just go out to the Home Depot, which is the garage where I have a collection of extra screws and nails and pieces of boards. And, anybody that's been in their, 50-year-old, 60-year-old dad's garage is like a pile of extra sticks and boards and things that you just might need. It takes up a lot of space, though it is nice when I have it. But there's a lot of stuff that I don't really need or isn't going to get fixed that we end up hauling around. And it represents our life in many ways. There's a lot of things that we haul through life just in case we might need it.
Yes.
And then, so kind of like the clothes discussion, in the packing, we've been taking hikes each day. And when we were in town, we were doing long walks or even some runs. And I didn't really pack clothes to wear running or hiking that then I would have an extra set that I could kind of get sweaty in, and then have clothes for hanging out during the day, and then have evening clothes. It's like all these different. So, what happens is I just end up recycling some of my stuff, and you kind of make do.
Yeah, you make it work. And I kind of had the same situation. I didn't have probably the best shoes to go on long walks, but it's something that you and I really like to do in the morning. And rather than skip that, I made do with what I had. And you know what? It was just fine. We even ended up jogging one morning and it was fine. So that's a whole other story.
Yes.
But, so one of the things I was going to just talk about is like the smaller footprint and what that feels like. And I think we just started to touch on a little bit that idea around like you can make do, and you kind of realize that sometimes having these extra things sitting around starts to just feel like a weight. And even looking around in our truck camper, we have lots of cups. We have tall cups, shorter cups,
insulated cups, plastic cups, metal cups,
wine cups, this cup, that cup. And, and I think part of the reason they're still sitting in there is because it actually holds everything in place. When you're traveling with a truck camper, you don't want anything jiggling around. But, could that space be used for something better? Probably. And then we have like 8 bowls in our pantry. And at one point we bought them because we tended to camp with a bunch of people. And if we were doing a shared meal, it was really helpful to have 8 bowls. we haven't done that in a couple of years. We maybe need 4 bowls. And we just don't really take the time to be mindful and intentional about what we have in here, which I think often is what happens at home as well.
Yeah, no, I can see that at home. And every time we talk about being mindful about the things that we have, it reminds me of like that Marie Kondo book.
Yes, that we used when we were unpacking into our new house.
Yeah, and I can't even remember the name of the book, so I'm not doing it justice. But basically, the idea being is look at what gives you joy, you know, and if it's really meaningful to you, keep it. But there's a lot of things in our life that we just keep because they had a purpose at one time, just like our cups. I could go through and say, these cups are here because this is the first cups we had. And then we got these cups, but the other cups stayed. And then we decided we wanted larger insulated cups for putting our beer in so it didn't get too warm.
Well, and then also we have cups that I got from my retirement that have sentimental value, but we have not used them yet.
Yes. So there's, you know, lots of different purposes, but then, you know, the book, you know, going back to the book, because it really kind of taught me a lot of things, that thinking about things that had their season, which is much like the you know, right-sizing your house could have, you know, it meant a lot to you for that period of time, and you don't need to hang on to it because it was perfect for you 10 years ago. Just like the cups in our cupboard, we don't need to hang on to because they were the cups that we needed then. And we don't have to throw them out. We could stick them somewhere else for now. But the idea is kind of taking a look and saying, are these serving us today the way that we need them to serve us?
Right. And in a house, it's not just the things in your house, it's the spaces in your house. I know we've talked about that. I think the hardest one is for people who have children is deciding you don't need a specific bedroom for a child. Because I think that represents so much about what has mattered to you in your life for so many years. And now saying like, that part of my life is really over. That child is not going to come home and live here anymore, which, let's be honest, in many ways is great. But it's also around the, like, I do still want them to be here and feel like they are welcome here. So how do I accomplish that in my next house? You know, if I am going to let this one go.
Right. No, I think it's interesting. And on the children's bedrooms thing, it's easier when you move, you know, to then not have assigned bedrooms. It would be, it's more difficult when you stay and you want to repurpose a bedroom into an office or a
home gym.
You know, home gym, or do something, because now the one child that still has their room available, you know, the other child that doesn't, how did you choose which one you were going to get rid of?
Right.
Whereas when we moved into our, you know, the house that we built, we don't have enough rooms to assign specific rooms to each kid. All 4 kids, they're not all 4 going to be staying with us at any one time. Is very unlikely. So we tried to set them up almost like just basic guest rooms. So we have many rooms. So when kids come and stay, they have a room to call their own for their stay, but it isn't their assigned room.
And I think it's helpful as you consider a change like right-sizing to have the meaningful conversations with the people that you share that home with. And obviously, if you live with someone, that is the primary person to have the conversation with. But I think if you are someone that welcomes, like, especially a lot of family into your home on a regular basis, it is nice to have those intentional conversations with them, help them understand your thought process. And often you will probably get a lot more support than you realize. And in fact, we have a client right now that is going through the sale of her family home for 40 years on 5 acres. And she's got 3 children. And I think all of the children realize that this is the right move for mom. And, you know, instead of there being a lot of emotional baggage and maybe guilt on mom of like, how can you give this up? This is where our family gathers. They've really leaned in and supported her and said, Mom, we want you to let that go. We are happy to let you come, you know, help us host Thanksgiving at our house now instead, or you'll be a part, and we're going to help you get through this very difficult task of selling everything in your house, or, you know, donating it or whatever we need to do. It's a big job.
It is.
And having their support, I think, has been so meaningful. All she has, you know, she's expressed so much appreciation for her children and how they participate in the process.
Yeah. And it is helpful to talk with the kids, and can be surprising sometimes at how the kids have oftentimes have moved on and haven't communicated that their emotional tie back to the house, while it's still an important tie back, and there'll still be sentimental things. We want to save some pictures, or do one last little hoorah there, or save the listing photos from the house, and the house is all pretty and cleaned up, and but they're also ready to move on.
Right. So what's the big takeaway from this conversation? I would say, if you are thinking about right-sizing, maybe plan a camping trip first and really look at, what do I need for this? And then now I really understand what maybe my bare minimums are. What else would I really need to make me happy in this next step in my life? And if you're thinking about the conversation, we'd love to have it with you.
Give us a call.